also? You
Well,
jump mat?
what happened is I was in the 82nd when they reorganized, and the 505 was broken down into battle groups, and they organized new battle groups. And so I was sent to A Company of the 2nd Battle Group 503rd Infantry as a rifleman. It's not in the machine guns. And about 2 days later, they grabbed me and took me over to headquarters company to work in the communications platoon, because the platoon sergeant, Sergeant Fox, was intent on making me a commo man. And so I was initially trained to be a field wireman for a while, and all I did was basically run wire, climb poles, and recover wire. And I took a short discharge and reenlisted to go to Germany just to get back in the infantry.
Could you speak a little bit about Germany? Was that with the 11th Air?
Airborne. Yeah, I went to Germany, and I was the 11th Airborne Division at the time, and I was in the E Company 1st Airborne Battle Group 187th Infantry, which, by the way, was a very, very well-trained and organized unit.
Jimi Hendrix was in that group, if I'm not mistaken. Jimi Hendrix was.
No, he was in 101st. He never went.
Oh, okay.
Germany. Yeah.
Okay.
But I got to Germany, and they put me in E Company, and I started out there as carrying a Browning automatic rifle.
Wow.
And then over time, I had different jobs. I was fire team leader, squad leader, radio. I carried the radio at certain times, and I used to get called on to zero the 3.5, because you had to zero it every day, and I was good at it. And because the sight would get knocked out of kilter, just a little nickel and dime shit. I was a senior rifleman, and I just did all the different jobs in a rifle platoon. I loved being in the infantry and the airborne infantry. But we talk about jump master before the 11th was inactivated, or after it was inactivated, but before the 187 was sent out, and we got sent to leg groups. I was a PFC E3, and I got a chance to go to jump master school, but you had to have 13 jumps, and we had some guys who didn't really like to jump. So they would pay me to jump in their place. And so I had over the 13 jumps, and I was able to finagle my way into jump master school. So it was very uncommon for a guy below the rank of E4 or E5 to even get into that. And I got to go. And so then I qualified as a jump master when I was there in the 11th. Then I was with them when they inactivated the unit.
Wow. A viewer just typed in and said he heard they reactive. Have you heard that?
Yeah, Anthony, they've reactivated them in Alaska. I think it's 2 brigades under them, and that's the 11th up there. In fact, I was going to write them a letter when they activated and said, "Hey, I was one of the last guys on active duty that had been in the 11th when I retired. In fact, I think I was the last, and maybe I should come up there to your reactivation," but I didn't get around to doing it, and I'm sure they wouldn't have anyway.
And now is this still the around the same time to where you end up going through the NCO Academy?
Well, I was on the 11th Airborne Division Honor Guard. The 7th Army NCO Academy used to have a divisional honor guard there as part of the school, and they would rotate around the various units in Europe. And in our case, we went up there, and we became, what you do, you did honor guard ceremonies. You were training aides for the NCOs going through there when they needed to march troops around or give commands, and when they went out to do little exercises and stuff. And we also did gate guard duty and internal security, guard duty and all that stuff. So in fact, it was a hell of a job, because you were open for inspection 24 hours a day. We basically slept on the floor so we wouldn't mess up the beds. It's that bad. But at the same time, I got selected to be an assistant instructor in the map reading part. And then I was able to go and attend the courses while we were there. And I went through the NCO Academy while doing the other jobs as well. So I might be pulling guard at night, but I got to go to school in the daytime. And that school was by far the most detailed, high standard, professional academic training I ever had anywhere.
Amazing. And is this also along because I couldn't tell with the timeline.
Late spring, I guess it was, after we came back from Munich. That's where the NCO Academy was then, in Munich. And Jen had to have fired at least sharpshooter if you, and then, you know, if you were a crew serve, you also had to fire the pistol. And if you were other guys, you had to qualify. So at least sharpshooter. And then you had to take all these different tests, and every, like artillery, adjustment of artillery fire, first aid and combat life-saving, chemical warfare, mines and booby traps, prisoner of war handling, and all the subjects that a basic infantryman is supposed to know. And at the time we went through, and there was a road march. You had to go, I think it was 12 miles, and carrying a certain load and weapon, and had to do it within a certain time frame. I think it was 3 hours, which it wasn't difficult. It just, if you were in any kind of condition at all, it wasn't tough. That part wasn't tough to us because we walked or ran everywhere. We didn't ride much in trucks in those days. But anyway, I took the test and I qualified, which was, we had I don't remember what the percentages were, but I really remember that the standards were pretty damn high. And from then on, if you had a CIB or an EIB, then you were always on the committees to give the next guys a test. They've changed it. And of course, everything evolves over time, but they've changed it now that when I went through it, if you flunked one no-go, you didn't qualify. You had to go again the next year or whenever. And today I understand you can fail a couple of them and still get through it. So that's, we used to call it the TRADOG standard, lower the standard and do the statistics to make it look like everybody's doing better.
So
there was